David, you've been involved in the study of marital and family spirituality for many years now. How come you focus so much on this area of spirituality in your profession?
Like most ideas, it evolves. I would say through the first half of my life, I didn't think at all about marital and family spirituality because no one did. Now, after a few years, I left the religious life and returned to the world. And I began to think, what was different? Was God in one world and not in the other? And I came to understand more and more that, in fact, God is everywhere, in all kinds of life. And just as God was present with me in the religious life, when I left and returned to family, then I began to think God was there too. And then I started to notice things, like when I would read or think about the words of Jesus, especially toward the end of his life when he talked about judgment in that famous scene where he talked about feeding the hungry and giving drink to the thirsty and clothing the naked and visiting the stranger and all this sort of thing, welcoming the stranger. What I began to realize was these kinds of things happen in the family too. So when the family gathered for meals, I thought of when Jesus said, where two or three are gathered. Well, there we are, sitting around the dinner table. So gradually I became more and more aware of the reality that God is present in ordinary family life. However, I still didn't hear that discussed very much in the church. Family wasn't considered a bad place, but it was neither, nor was it considered a particularly good place. Families went to church. They weren't church. Years later, I discovered that in the Second Vatican Council, the bishops found some vocabulary about the family that had been forgotten. Vocabulary that came from the early church, where the family was called the domestic church, church of the home. In the New Testament, we started to notice places where the family was called the household of faith. So all in all, we began through historical work and through just reflection to realize that God was very present in ordinary family life, especially in the love that was there in the family.